Hello, everybody. I need to move this over here so I can make sure I'm looking at you. I hope you're having a great day. My mind is blown. What I'm going to do for you today is I'm just going to teach you a while, and then I'm going to share a presentation, just a little bit of it, um, so you can see a little bit of what I've been studying. Oh, sorry. Let me get this set up. So, I'm going to use today is just me teaching you, not too much demonstration, uh, but I'm going to go back. First of all, I want to say um, my degree is from the University of California at Davis, which is the big ag school. One of my degrees is in agricultural science. The other degree is in accounting and finance. But what I did when I was there is I studied computer programming. Stupid dogs, hold on. They always want to play when I'm trying to work. Computer programming became my passion only because I grew up in the Bay Area, San Jose. I lived there from 1976 until 1989. And during that period of time, with a lot of stuff going on in the computer, my first big passion was I wanted an Apple IIe. I didn't buy one. I ended up waiting and buying the IBM PC when it first came out, I believe in 1982, or maybe it was 83. So I had the IBM PC, did the flips, the flops, and all that stuff. And when I was in Davis, I had a college roommate who was a computer engineer. So in order to understand what he was talking about, because I didn't, I started taking computer classes. And I was able to use my connection to the family business that I ultimately ran for many, many, many years to program business tools into our computer system. I'll go back a little bit. Before that, I was graduated high school. I was running a company that did packaging, repackaging for the landscape industry. And I guess I was 17 years old when I took over as the general manager of that company. 17 years old. That would have been 1979. 17, 1979. So I was doing that, and when my dad came in, this is before I went to Davis, he said, I can't figure this stupid computer out. Come in here and run it, which I did. Before I went to college, before I started learning programming, what I learned how to do was talk to programmers. Now, if you know anything about programmers, they're like aliens, especially back in those days, because there wasn't many people that understood what they did. Well, I started figuring it out. I learned Basic Plus, and I learned a language called ISM, which stands for Index Sequential Methodology or something like that. And I was programming our Alpha microcomputer, I don't think they're around anymore, to help us run our business efficiently and make money. And it worked. It worked really well. Well, at college, I studied Pascal, Fortran, COBOL, Basic Plus, all that stuff. I just studied and I studied and I studied while I was taking my science classes and my business classes. So I came out of college with a very strong understanding of programming. Well, remember, in the early 80s, so all these prior to Windows, there's all these programs coming out for DOS, And there wasn't much coming out for the Apple, so I kind of gave up on the whole Apple idea. It was interim. I'm now an Apple freak. But in those days, I was like, well, it's got to be a PC, and it needs to be Microsoft DOS. So I'm programming in that world because it allowed me to connect to our company's computer. And our company's computer was connected to the service provider's computer. So we were literally working in what we call a net-centric basis. In other words, the actual programming was being done on a computer at our software company, not on our own computer. This bugged me. I don't know why it bugged me. I wanted to own the device. So ultimately bought in an Alpha microcomputer, and we started working on that. And we grew that consistently until 2005. We were then on a IBM AS400 computer. Maybe you guys are old enough to remember those, which was a fabulous machine. And we grew our business up to about 100 million in business in annual sales, took it public, made a bunch of money, got tired of running this giant company. We had 14 different companies across the United States and Canada and San Jose, Costa Rica that we were running. And it was just a nightmare. Never-ending garbage going on. But I had the IQ and the intelligence and the youth to do that stuff. So I'm a pretty smart guy. I have an IQ of 165 or something like that. When I was very young, when they did the IQ test, my mom wouldn't tell me what it was because she didn't want me to get arrogant. Too bad. It happened anyway. So I was literally one of the beta testers for programs like Lotus 123, Photoshop, all these programs that were coming out. And I would test the programs for bugs, report it back to the company, and I basically got to play with the software. As a result, I got the software. They had to pay for it, which to me at that time, I thought that was really cool. So I was beta testing this stuff and doing everything I could to break it. And in the meantime, being able to help our company really distance ourselves from our competition by miles, because we were doing things like vendor managed inventories. So literally when the inventory levels dropped to a certain level, we'll click and automatically reorder the vendor. So we didn't need to have a staff of purchasing agents. And I had an order entry system, which basically customers would place their orders, people on the phone would take them, type them in. We'd automatically figure out pricing, the delivery schedule, put it on the right truck the right day of the week, schedule that truck so it was full, all that sort of stuff to optimize our return on investment. I was also designing and printing and creating catalogs that we'd mailed out to, I think it was like 30,000 people we'd mailed these catalogs out to, which generated millions upon millions of dollars in revenue. And we were the first company to come out with a full color catalog in I think it was 85. I got those catalogs in my desk over there. Maybe I'll share one with you. They were just printed full color catalogs, and they showed product, a little bit of information about the product and pricing. We were selling on information. That was my first taste of marketing and information marketing, which really is still what we're doing to this day. If you think about it. Well, last week I shared with you Notebook LM. You don't need to hire someone to tell you what to do anymore. You go to Notebook LM, tell it, and generate all the content and create a video for you to teach you what's new that you want to learn. That is probably the single most important video or training I'm going to do for you guys. I want to go through and talk a little bit more about the evolution of stuff, because we went from a net-centric to a server-centric. The server was in our office, and we were working right there. No latency, no modem issues. We didn't have to have a dedicated line. We used to have what was called a T1 connection to allow all our offices to connect to us. And so our offices, all these branch businesses, They were running net-centric with our computer. There's a point to why I'm telling you this stuff. It's got a lot to do with what's going on with X, Elon Musk, and all this stuff. So anyhow, there I am living in this world and feeling very good about what I understood. And I felt I understood it all. I had no problem always being on the bleeding edge, coming up with the newest innovation, and then applying it into the business that we were running. And it was exciting and it was fun, and we made a lot of money in the process. Okay. So here we are in the $100 million business. Wow. Elon Musk took SpaceX public. I think it was last week. I invested a lot of money into it. I just put $100,000 into it because I'm like, let's see if it flies. It's going to fly. I'm going to explain to you why X is worth 50 times more than the $1 trillion valuation. That's my whole purpose for today. A lot of people are going, oh, Elon Musk is a trillionaire. He can take that money and do this with it. Now, why can't a guy make $7 an hour and he can make $1 trillion? You know what? Elon Musk is the Einstein and the Tesla of our generation. I became a huge fan of Steve Jobs in the 2000s because I saw him come back from oblivion. He got fired by Apple, I'd given up on Apple. And they came out with that first iMac in the late 90s. It's kind of a big, clunky machine. And I was at that time, I had migrated from the DOS environment and the MS-DOS, which was I can't even remember what the operating system was on the iPhone Alpha Micros. AM-DOS, right? Alpha Micro DOS. And so now suddenly Windows is there, and I'm like, we got to have point and click everything. So we started migrating our programs into the Windows environment by using PC. And basically what these programs would do is would take the Windows management system, and it would just basically put a shell over top of the DOS platform, and that became point and click, so people could use a mouse. That was a big invention for us because we were all these VT100 keyboards that were like this, and we had people, hundreds of people, just typing in orders and doing a lot of stuff, and mostly driving me crazy and complaining about this, that, the other. I had trucks breaking down and trucks hauling methamphetamine, and we had to put up a sting with the police. It was just a lot of headaches, which is why we liquidated or sold the business in 2005. So at the same time, I was running my guitar business, which was doing okay. And I was learning about internet marketing because I got right into the very beginning of e-commerce in 1997 when I started 24 Hour Guitar. I said, let's see if I could sell guitars because I'm a musician. And now I'm a recording artist. And I've got 4 albums out. I got 3 albums. One's being released in 2 weeks. And, this is fun stuff for me. I would dive into something and I'd get to know about every little bit of whatever it does so that I can manipulate that into doing something profitable for me. Isn't that what entrepreneurs do? So that's the limit of what my mind can take me. I mean, it made me wealthy, but not anything close to some of these .com millionaires and billionaires and that stuff. But I always felt I was there on the cutting edge. In 2010, I think it was 2010, Apple took their phone and turned it into an iPad. I love my iPad. I bought one of the first iPads that came out. It was clunky, but I could do stuff on it. I wish I could use my mouse on it. They now have mouses for your iPad if you want it. I could care less at this point. I use my finger. I've gotten better at the keyboard because I have tremors. I'm never a good typist. Thank God for AI. Um, but a lot of this stuff was going on during this whole time. Uh, I got very good at running Google Ads in the 2000s because it's how we advertised our guitars. And it's how I ultimately started advertising the internet marketing stuff, that and affiliate marketing. But it got increasingly complex to the point where I was like, I don't want to bother with it anymore. So suddenly I'm 50 years old in 2012. And I don't want to mess with Facebook ads and all these different ads. The ads don't really work for me. They do now. But I have AI. I built my own software to manage my AI, my ad campaigns. So all this was like cool stuff. Well, now, 2022, I believe it was, here comes ChatGPT, and I'm like, well, I can type, I can write articles. So I got together with my lead programmer. At one point, I had 65 people working for me over in India programming stuff. And we designed a program called MPP AI. It launched that in 2022. Didn't really sell much. People weren't really into blogging like they were before. But we got it to the point where ClickBank and then ultimate product launches where I repackaged it into different names. Um, I couldn't program that program. There's no way. I mean, I understood the code. I could read the code, but it was freaking complex. It had all those different things going on to make it work. And what I wanted was AI to help me write programs. So at this point, we started, I had a contract, a licensing deal with one of my programs, which was winding down. Uh, in other words, we built the software in 2010. By 2020, it wasn't really something they were willing to keep paying for. So I laid off most of my employees, and we started building these little AI apps. And at this point, I've laid the last guy off. Um, he was my CTO. I didn't really let him off. I just said, here is a project. I don't want to do it. You do it. You keep all the money. And I lined up a place for that wanted the product, the service. Last fall, 2025, I discovered Claude. And I discovered that Claude is great for programming WordPress plugins. And then we developed an application and launched it at Traffic Whale. And I started writing my own code on a lot of different plugins and software and training and all this stuff that you guys are probably familiar with. And at the same time, I decided to kind of retire. It was earlier this year. So I knew SpaceX was doing great things. They were launching the Falcon rocket and it was going up and distributing satellite internet. I don't use it, haven't used it. I hear really good things about it. It's priced right and you can get high speed, no latency. It's really great stuff. I didn't switch to it. Matter of fact, right now I'm using AT&T fiber is what I'm talking to you on. And Google Fiber knocks on the door. I'm like, you may be better, but I'm not going to change because I don't need a headache. I'm retired, which I am. I decided to start collecting Social Security because, I've been paying into it since 1978. Yeah, 1978, when I was 16. Um, so why not just collect what I can? And and there's a penalty because of my income, but I'm still making more money, and it's money that's owed to me by the government because I paid into Social Security for 50, uh, almost just 46 years. So that's fine. I'm entitled to it. I'm going to take it, and I'm putting that money into other things. One of them was buying X. Now, why did I buy X? Um, did I buy it because it's going to grow? Yeah, it's going to grow. It can't help but grow. See, AX and Tesla and XAI and X, all part of Elon Musk's plan to be able to ultimately send people to Mars. But it's a little bit more than that. And that's part of what I want to share with you. It's now at that point where when I was younger, I could understand everything that was going on down to the granular bit, the bits. And nowadays, honestly, I can't. I can't keep up anymore. It's not that I've gotten any dumber, although age will make you slow down a little bit. I'm 64 at this point. But it just gets to be too much. When X went public, I put the money into it, expecting it to grow. I'm not looking for fast results. I expect it to become my biggest holding. And I add in $1,000 a week. Just keep dumping it. I don't even look at the stock. I'm not going to look at the stock because it's not about today. It's about the future. So what X is doing, XAI, SpaceX, Tesla, these are three different companies all owned by Elon Musk, or shareholders, is they're going to merge all this together. And you're already seeing that because XAI merged with SpaceX. And then SpaceX went public. At one point, I think it's worth about $2 trillion right now. And the stock will go up and down and all that stuff. It's also going to split. If you got money, it's a good place to put it. What's going to happen is X plan, or Elon Musk's global plan, is they need to have computing power in order for the AI to run. That's like our brain, right? This thing is amazing, but you only have so much capacity. It's the same thing with AI. It needs more capacity to grow. It already knows everything. Don't think you're living a secret private life. If you own a phone, or you have a computer, or you strike a rock against the ground, AI knows that. Back in 2010, a friend of mine wanted to make a little money on the side. He was working for a programming company, and his specialty was large databases. What's large? I didn't even begin to understand where we were headed. All the data in the world that ever has existed is now digitized and on a server somewhere. A picture of me and my dad. I took that picture on my phone. It's in the cloud. I printed it out and put it on my wall because my dad is my best friend in life. I love the man dearly. He passed away a few years ago, so I'm still a little sensitive about that. He did live to be 92 at least. And he was always of the opinion of you buy something and you stick with it. We stuck with McAuliffe to this day. McAuliffe is the holding company that owned the distribution business, owned the manufacturing company, and owned the greenhouse construction business, and owned the printing business. It's a holding company. Now, all those businesses have disappeared because we didn't want to deal with it anymore. It gets to that point. So you begin to wonder, why is Elon Musk doing? Well, he's a lot smarter than me. He's got more capacity. And because XAI is using the platform X as its source of data, everyone guards where their data sources. Meta, Facebook, has their own. And one of their platforms is Manus, which I really like, but I'm going to quit using. I'll explain to you why. And the other one is Microsoft owns LinkedIn. That's their source of data. Google already has permission to crawl all the websites in the world, unless you tell it not to. You can put robots no in a TXT file on your server, and Google will not index it because they built the first search engine. They got the authority to do that, I guess, or we gave it to them. So they're been crawling everything. If you have a Gmail account, I guarantee you AI has every bit of everything that's ever been in your Gmail account indexed. If you go to Google and search, if an answer to your question is in your Gmail account, it will pop up and show you your friggin' email. It's only for you, but it's there, right? So it will serve your own content to you. It doesn't mean they'll serve it to everyone else, or do they, because it's part of the data. Remember I was talking about computer-centric versus net-centric. At this point in time, everything is being indexed, and all the big data, which David used to run, is in the cloud. Let me finish telling you a story about David Westbaum. He wanted to build some things and make some extra money, so we created a program called the Twidnator. Remember that? Very popular. It would grow your Twitter account and promote to it. Did very good until Twitter finally said no. It's funny that they very shortly afterwards created their own version of what we were doing. So you had that. I can't even post to Twitter with one of my programs anymore because they want $5,000 a month just to post content from my service. So if I was to say automatically post my blog content to X, I just can't do it anymore because X doesn't want you posting a bunch of junk on their platform. And I understand that. It's their stuff. It's not your stuff. They want to have data that is driven by human interaction. All of them do. This way they can take their database programs called AI and accumulate all that data and then figure out what it means. That's what David used to do. And I asked him, what's large database? He goes, well, it's coming. You'll understand when it happens. Well, 2022, I got an email from David. He goes, how's it going? I said, I think I understand what big data means. He goes, well, no. You still got a lot to learn. Tell me. He goes, I can't. I have an NDA. But just trust me. The world is going to change in ways you never thought possible. Wow. I never thought a car can drive itself. I never thought I would have a robot in my house. Tesla's full self-driving vehicle. It's got to connect to something up there. And it has cameras everywhere. So if you take Waymo, it's using all these fancy devices to kind of track everything, radar, sonar, whatever type of system they have, and they work. Waymo's fine. Uh, what Tesla does that's different is this got basically eyeballs. It looks and interprets what's coming in. So if you've ever been driving and something jumped out in front of you and you had to do something real quick to avoid it, happened to me yesterday. It's pretty typical, right? So your mind goes, oh my God, stop, turn, do this, avoid. How's AI ever going to be able to do that? How is a car going to be able to do that? Now, in the case of Waymo, they have sensors and it works. It's safer than human drivers. Tesla's full self-driving system is a little different, though. That's what I want to talk to you about. The database is, David was right. It's bigger than we ever thought. Every mile ever driven by full self-drive, whether it's with the robotaxi or you just happen to have a Tesla car and subscribe to the service and it has FSD, is all compiled into the cloud. And that cloud is being used to train their cars in real time. So that means everybody's got to have all these NVIDIA chips. Yeah, I'm a big NVIDIA investor, as I am Oracle. And it's training the drive real time. Some Tesla in Europe, most likely United States, or even in China, has a stop for whatever and avoids an accident, that becomes part of the training. And think about what Tesla's doing. They're using these cameras to see just like you do with your eyes and react just like you do with your brain. But on a global basis, they're training it. The amount of information, the amount of zeros and ones, which is going to change when we go to quantum, that's another video, is just unbelievable. You cannot even begin to fathom it. But you can understand what's going on. So how does Tesla and their full self-driving vehicles manage all that information? Well, they built a data center. I believe it's in Tennessee. And it is, I can't remember the name of it. Quantimax, whatever. It's a big data center. It's the most advanced data center in the world where all of their training goes on for everything. And there's hundreds of billions of dollars invested into it. I mean, it's 100,000 NVIDIA chips, which sell for $30,000 a piece, are in that data. Colossus is the name of it. That is owned by XAI. They built that over the last few years to train everything in the whole Elon Musk sphere through XAI, which SpaceX bought. Because these are only individual companies, but they're going to be all one before long. So you got XAI owning Colossus, and companies are looking for computes. So like when I go to use Claude, it's buying time on XAI's Colossus. And a lot of these AIs are. So you got money coming into XAI from Google for all their AI tools. Google's got their own cloud. Amazon's got their own cloud. But got to program all this stuff. Well, here in Tennessee, I think it's Memphis, they've invested $100 billion into this data center, and they got to have the power, so it's drawing power out of the community. And they have to cool everything, keep it at the temps it needs to be. So they're flushing trillions of gallons of fresh water through their plants. Hope they're cleaning it up when they dump it. I'm sure they do. But it's putting a draw on humanity. It's stealing our resources, our energy. So all these guys are building all these data centers and going, where are we going to get the energy from? So they're putting up solar panels and windmills. A lot of them are looking at nuclear to power their system. Elon goes, well, all the energy that ever existed, ever will be, is coming from the sun. Not really, but the sun is our source of energy for everything. Okay. Even oil. Wasn't for the sun, the dinosaurs wouldn't have been able to eat, die, decompose, and become oil. So it's kind of a slow way. Why not just take the sun itself? Well, solar energy on Earth is expensive, it's inefficient, and it consumes resources. We're going to build these gigantic panels, and we're going to do all that stuff. We're going to bring in silicon, we're going to buy stuff from China. Everything depends on everything else on the world to build these solar panels so we can feed our data engine. And Elon's like, yeah, you know what there's a lot of in space? There's a lot of sun. And there's no atmosphere to diffract and deflect. And we can collect solar energy, infinite amount, by building solar panels in space. So he finally said the next logical thing. Think about it. SpaceX, he's releasing these satellites. He can collect power. Why not power our AI in space? Brilliant. Okay, but you have to build all these satellites and all these panels, which requires lots of silicon, and it's going to consume resources from the world. It's ultimately going to become a political problem for Elon. It's going to impact this company's ability to grow. So along comes Starship. Huge. Will they work? Yes, they will. How did he learn to make it do all this stuff? Trial and error. I'm not afraid to throw up billions of dollars away to blow up a satellite to learn what not to do. It's like me learning to play guitar. I've been doing it for 48 years. I don't even have to think about it now. But I made a jillion errors. I still do. My talents have faded as I've gotten older because of arthritis and tremors and things that limit my ability to play like I used to. But how do you get the silicon and all this stuff into space on the satellites that SpaceX will deploy? So they're going to deploy, they already got their internet services, which is massively profitable. Starlink is huge. It's really pure profit once you have the satellite in space. It's capital outlay versus no cost. So you make a lot of money on that. And now we can use the same concept, go up, release satellites, but we're going to need a lot more. And on those satellites, we're going to put solar panels to collect energy. And we're going to have like a miniature data center on the satellite. The technology of creating a data center is what it is. It could be improved dramatically, and it will be. So he's doing that. But how do you build all this stuff? It turns out that the moon is basically, I don't know, 40% silicon, what they call the moon dust. That is the stuff that they're going to use to make satellites. So we're going to land on the moon. We're going to build manufacturing facilities, And because there's no gravity on the moon, we can use a railgun to launch these satellites into space. So now we got to go land on the moon, SpaceX, and we got to be able to have workers there, and it's dangerous. People die. There's radiation, all sorts of stuff going on. So I need robots. Optimus. Optimus is now about ready. I think they're going to start producing their first consumer bots this year. So you got Optimus. You can land Optimus on the moon. He can build out a community that some humans can live in. But he can build manufacturing facilities that can use to build up these satellites with the data centers. So they don't have to go ahead and do all this stuff to launch these data centers in space, which is what we want. We want to accumulate as much data capacity as we can. This is all net centric, right? And then we need to transmit that somewhere to do something with. Oh, we already have Starlink. We transfer it down at the speed of light. So you're going to have all these data centers in space, and they're going to be built initially on Earth, go up and eject them from the Starship, but ultimately on the moon. This is why the moon's important now. It's also important because he wants to get to Mars because of his desire to see us become a multiplanetary species. By 2050, I'll be, I don't know, close to 90 years old then, if I make it that long. Be cool, I want to. There's a lot of stuff going on with peptides. I could talk to you guys about that stuff. So maybe that's going to happen. I think it will. I don't even want to talk to you about Neuralink, because that's a different aspect. You're going to be able to put Neuralink in you, and you will become one with the AI. Consciousness is an energy, and all energy is part of the quantum world. You are too. So our consciousness is part of the universe, and it's only our feeble mind that thinks that we own it, right? God is so much bigger than us. As you know, I'm a deep Christian. So I think this is all by design. So he's going to have all these AI data centers in space so that we can accumulate an infinite amount of knowledge that we will be able to deal with. What is this going to do to the valuation of SpaceX? The one I'm a little concerned about in the long run would be NVIDIA, because the other thing that people don't realize, Musk has got another big giant master plan called Terafab, where he's building his own A5 chips. These A5 chips are going into the Tesla bot. They're not going into Teslas. Tesla uses the A4 chip, but they're 40 times faster than NVIDIA. You got more capacity. So they have the ability to create the chips that are going to go into the data centers in space here on Earth. I would think ultimately they're going to figure out how to build that on the moon. And the moon is really a fantastic manufacturing center because there's no gravity. You can do certain things you can't do in gravity, and it's cheap to get stuff off the moon and into space because there's low gravity. They'll create a magnetic rail that just launches stuff. You go because there's no gravity, and then they can obviously use solar to power the agents to where they need to be. So he's talking about 1 million satellites in space in the next 20 years to power this AI which is ultimately going to make it so that our cost of production, the cost to make this pen, because of the bots, the robots will take those jobs, is going to be practically zero. So how are people going to survive? There's no job. Well, people have universal high basic income. It's that because businesses will be able to make huge margins, way more making this pen than they ever been able to because of the bots and because of AI increasingly creating an environment that's cheaper and cheaper to produce extraordinarily powerful goods. Okay. So you have AI, you have a lower cost of goods, business is making a lot of money. The government will have to take their revenue off of that so we can buy stuff. And my thought is, well, too old to work. I can buy myself an AI robot and it can work for me and it gets paid and I get the money and I don't know how they're going to do it. I do believe that it is doable as long as we are able to take the cost of goods so low that the profits selling those goods is astronomical and you can be able to glean enough profit off of that to give people the money they need to live. But at the same time, this means cost of production, food. It could be a lot less, all right? It could be a lot less. I was watching a video last night. Tesla has these new trucks. These semis are coming off the plant floor, $250,000. But when you figure out the cost to deliver product will reduce by 75%, because electricity is a much more efficient way to do it. Plus, they don't have to hire drivers. And so they'll be able to get stuff to market for way less money. And they won't have to pay anybody because the bots move them. So profitability is going to be enormous again. The costs are going to be zero. But ultimately, by harnessing free energy off the sun, it appears to be free, is going to be able to produce pretty much everything in our life at nominal cost. So we don't need a huge income to survive. And we don't necessarily all have to be millionaires. It would be nice to see people get a good standard of living, be able to live well. I know a lot of people want handed to them. Well, that's what Elon's vision is. You go, oh, he's a trillionaire. He could provide all this if he just shares money in. He does. He pays more taxes than any individual ever. And he's only a trillionaire because of his stock valuation. You can't tax unrealized profits. And if the liberals want to come along and tax you for your holdings, people will stop investing in this whole thing. So let it go. Let this thing evolve and let it happen. So I think somebody was saying in one article I read, by 2040, X will be worth $30 trillion. SpaceX. And SpaceX is going to buy Tesla. Makes sense. They own XAI. XAI owns Colossus. They're going to own Terafab. So you make the chips, you put in the brain, you get it out of space. You can see how the whole economy is going to be designed around X. So my $100,000, another $50,000 a year, will that be worth $100 million? Does it really matter in the long run? I can buy more homes. I can go on a nice vacation. Um, None of which, those are not my appetites. You know, became a millionaire when I was 35 years old, 30 years ago. I had a house in Tahoe. I had a big old boat in San Diego. None of that bought me, none of those toys and stuff did anything to make me a better person or do anything to help my family other than entertain them. So rather than resenting Elon Musk for his wealth, we should be applauding it and we should be rooting for it. He sleeps on his factory floors half the time. He's a humble man with big aspirations because his brain, and I've been there, I just didn't have the capacity he has. My brain took me this far. I wish yours will take you far. I, make a lot of money off of X. I expect to. Will that make me any different than anyone else? No. In the long run, I don't think it's really going to matter. I think that Elon is right, that ultimately we're going to have universal high income. And with that's going to come the sort of freedom that we all want. Now, there's a lot of people that don't want you to be free. A lot of small people in this world that want control because that control gives them the ability to be wealthier than you. I don't think Elon cares that much about that. What he cares about, he's making money for his shareholders. There's like 40,000 employers, 10,000 employees that work for Elon Musk companies became millionaires when Tesla, when X went public the other day. There were beginning employees at Tesla that became millionaires when Tesla grew. So you got a lady in the cafeteria that they gave 10,000 shares of stock for that's now a multimillionaire. They did things like that. Okay, remember, 2002 is when he started both SpaceX and Tesla, both of which he did not expect to survive. He said that he didn't expect SpaceX to last more than a few years. He had this dream, he had this vision, and he put everything. He made a lot of money when he sold PayPal. And he put every penny of that into financing Tesla and SpaceX, not expecting to make any money in return. He ultimately did. And he ultimately did a lot. And he ultimately built this entire, I'm going to call it global, if we'll allow it to happen, solution. Now, would some jealous entity in China or Russia or Iran or North Korea, would they push buttons to prevent this from happening? I don't know why they would. Ultimately, everyone will benefit from a globalized, from a solar system-based economic system. We're not even a solar system. It's just us and the sun and the moon and ultimately Mars. There's so much potential, growth, profitability, and ability for us to take care of our societies in a way that is enriching to everybody. No one should go to bed hungry. No one should be diseased. Just wait till you see what's coming out with that. I just heard some stuff today. There is no reason for the things that bring people down to exist. And those people are keeping people down so they can be rich. They're going to be overthrown as the rest of the world takes advantage of what's going to happen. And their people don't get the same thing. This is all going to happen. And I want to say it's a certainty. Some people say, oh, Bill, it's your opinion. Well, I just hope Elon Musk has got a great security system, because there are a lot of nut jobs that are likely to try to take him out. I took a bunch of people out the other night at the UFC fight on front lawn, which I thought was hilarious. It's ridiculous that Trump had to do that. And that was a vanity thing. I don't even like UFC, but he did. And there's no reason for people to there was a conspiracy of a bunch of people were going to blow up drones and create havoc and try to kill the president again. I just hope Elon Musk stays safe, because his vision is for universal high income for everybody on this planet to have a good, safe, long life. Now, why is that so controversial? Why is that of such that we've got to kill him? Let the man do his thing and allow him to grow his business. I don't know who his second in command is. I think his culture and his environment will probably see this through, but I pray for his well-being, because he means well for the planet, for humanity, all people. That's my little lecture for today. You probably fell asleep. I will actually teach you some internet marketing stuff next week. I'm just excited about the X AI thing. I'm excited about Colossus. I'm excited about A5 chip. I'm really excited about the robots, because I have a lot of physical ailments. I broke a hip, I broke my back, I'm in a lot of pain. I have a hard time lifting my dog up into the truck, into my car, take him to get a haircut or a vet appointment. It'd be nice to have a robot help me do that. I spend $50 a week for someone to mow my lawn. I have my AI go do that. There's so much to look forward to in life. And I'm going to talk a little bit about biohacking next week. Biohacking is the science of using available compounds to help yourself be younger, thinner, healthier. And these things are all being suppressed by the government. Why? Because insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies want to make billions of dollars off of you. They don't care whether you're healthy. They care that you're sick, but still alive, so you can make money. I have a pile of medicine I take every day. I get it. There are other solutions. I want to talk to you about biohacking next week. So y'all have a great day. I'll see you next week. Thank you.